So welcome to Driven by Porsche Denver West. Essentially, this is a podcast that we have put together to go over Porsche passion, market insights, and behind the scenes of Porsche Denver West as a dealership. And we will be featuring the one and only Porsche Brand Ambassador, Aaron Ekalo, also known as GTS Daddy.
That's right. Thanks, George. Appreciate it.
So let's get into the origin of GTS Daddy. Where was that nickname
For GTS Daddy, yeah. So it might sound, a little edgy, right? A little spicy. As simple as it is, I'm a dad.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm a car nut, and the GTS moniker for Porsche has always been like, if you watch any videos or journalists, they're like, it's the sweet spot, and it's easy to say that, right, but when you drive them, you actually understand as an enthusiast, it kind of is the sweet spot.
Right.
Like, it really bridges the gap between a car that you could daily drive, but you could also go to the track with it. And so GTS, I was like, I'm enamored with the brand, and then I'm a father. So.
Okay.
And also, people are like, what does that mean, Daddy? Right?
So speaking of GTS, then, where was your Porsche love born from?
Where was it born? Yeah, maybe we can pop up a photo if I can find it. But back, God, what was I, 5 years old? My uncle had a 911. It was just, I think, a Carrera or Carrera S, something like that. It's like a brown, kind of goldy color, bronzy color. And my dad was so excited about this car. Like, he was so excited, and I was like, what is this thing, right? Yeah. And my uncle pulled up, and the sounds and the smells of it, right? And he's like, hop in. And I was like, okay. So I jump in the car, and he takes me for a ride. Yeah. And we go for a ride. He's like, right? And I'm like, what is going on? It was a 5, right? And like, keep in mind, like, this is when, like, there's, I'm not in a car seat. I'm probably buckled, right? And then he hits the brakes and overshoots the turn for my street, and smoke comes out and locks the tires, right? And then flips a U and then comes back to the house. And I was like, I don't know what just happened, but my blood was boiling at that point. And again, I have a photo if I can find it. Maybe we'll post it. Okay. But yeah, that's where it started, man. It just chain reaction from there.
Okay. Yeah. So what is your favorite Porsche of all time then?
Really? Wow, good question. By the way, I prompted him to ask that one. But favorite Porsche of all time. Like, there's so many great classics, and like, one can go and one can say rear engine 911s are just the way it is, right? They can say rear engine 911s, and that's the heritage of Porsche. There's
Porsche.
What's that?
The
moniker of Porsche, right? However, as a car enthusiast, there's just certain ingredients that make a car special, right? And like, mid-engine, being the former owner of a Cayman, mid-engine is the place to have an engine, right? Like, if you look at Formula One or IndyCar, they're mid-engine cars, and a manual transmission is just an enthusiast thing as well, and a V10 is great. So I think all those little pieces of the puzzle point to the Carrera GT.
Yeah.
I
think there's a lot of agreement in the car community that
the
Carrera GT's
the
epitome of the Porsche brand.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that makes sense. What makes a daddy spec? What makes a perfect spec for a Porsche for Aaron Ekalo?
Yeah. Do we want to focus on like a specific model, or are we just going a daddy spec? Like,
a daddy spec.
Yeah. Right. So like, it'd have to be a GTS if we're going there. An enthusiast build, man. Like, an enthusiast build. So
3 pedals?
Ideally, but like, we also make some really cool GTSs that only have 2, right? So like, thinking out loud, yeah, we only make one GTS now that's a manual. That's the Boxster Cayman. All the other GTSs that we currently make in production are 2-pedal cars. But realistically, it would, have like rear wheel steer, torque vectoring, depending on model. It'd be a color, like a bright color, none of the solid tone stuff.
You're a voodoo blue guy?
Am I a voodoo blue guy? It comes in waves. Like, at one point, and then green was really great. Like, my M3's green. And then I'm on like a violet, kind of purple trip right now. Yeah. It changes as the time goes, right? Like, I'm not stuck in one space. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So the GT3 strikes again. The 992.2 GT3 manual just came in. It's the fastest manual car around the Nürburgring, coming in at 6 minutes 56 seconds. What do you think about that?
Damn. You know what's impressive? Mitchell, I don't know if you have a second to look this up, but what is it? The 991.2 GT3 RS, I think got a similar time.
991.2 GT3
991.2 GT3 RS, I think just broke the 7-minute barrier. Which is so cool that like a GT3, and remember, like every GT3 RS since the 991.1 has been PDK.
Right.
So being that it's a PDK and now the GT3 manual, I mean, that's stonking, man.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Given there's now a YSOC package.
There's now a YSOC package.
Which this had. But.
That's right. That's right. There will be a Manti kit as well. Porsche Denver West, by the way, if you're familiar, we will be a Manti dealer as well, which is really cool. Little plug there. Yeah. This is incredible news, and you know, for enthusiasts, right?
I was gonna say, why is that a big deal for the enthusiast community?
Yeah, like, okay. So as an enthusiast, I drive for fun. I don't. I mean, of course, I want to be fast. Of course, I want to have bragging rights. Of course, I want to show my friends and you know, clients that I'm, you know, a capable driver. But I'm not a race car driver, so like, you know, getting every little tenth out of the car isn't as important for me. Did you look that up, by the way, or no? No,
no, he didn't. He doesn't think we're serious.
He doesn't think we're serious about it. But like, PDK is amazing, and right, we know it's like the best gearbox ever made. But there's just something about like manhandling a car with a manual transmission and putting the clutch in, and like to be that quick in a manual transmission car on the Nürburgring. Is that it?
991.2 GT3 RS achieved the Nürburgring lap time with 6 minutes, 56 seconds.
What the heck?
So the same.
With a PDK and like the RS model, right? That's bananas. So yeah, just in terms of like a fun 3-pedal car, you know, that you can maybe miss shift or whatever, right? That's part of the engagement of it. Is spectacular. Yeah, that's really cool.
So when it comes to manual loyalty, how like do you have a nice vast selection of customers coming in and asking for 3 pedals, or is it declining?
No, that's a great question. You know, there's a solid customer bank that I have that is manual only for their cars that they look for. You know, that's why BMW with like the you know, the M2, M3 and M4 are cars they'll still look at because they're real performance cars with 3 pedals, and they'll only be interested in manual transmission cars that we have. Yeah. And I'd say, I mean, it's not my customer base, and it's not a majority of my customer base, but a majority of my enthusiast customer base. There's quite a few of them. Yeah.
What do you think of this GT3 around the Nürburgring does for overall demand and resale value going forward for other GT cars?
Yeah. I mean, it has to be faster, right? Like, it has to be faster than the previous gen. They have to squeeze more out of it. I think what's amazing is like the fact that they've squeezed so much out of it with relatively the same amount of power, notwithstanding all the limitations for environment, right? Like the EU standards, right? So I think that's impressive, but it has to be faster, right? Like, it has to be. So I don't know if that's like a necessarily like a driver, but it would be a detractor if it wasn't faster, right? Right. That makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you think Porsche is going to keep delivering analog joy in the digital world?
Analog joy in the digital world. Analog Joy, is that related to Anna Taylor-Joy? Is that like similar?
I think so.
No, it's not related? No. All right, because she's like all over it right now. So, so for those that know, Andy Pruninger is like the godfather of modern Porsche racing and, you know, GT, right? And the coolest thing about what they do there in Weissach or Flock, they have all of their coolest heritage GT cars. So they can always go back just to be sure where the roots of their analog feeling comes from, right? Like where it started and where it needs to be going, right? So this is the DNA that we're working with, and this is what Porsche does. I think with very few exceptions, like Ariel or BAC, right? Like for normal production cars, Porsche does it better than anyone else.
Right.
And that is a focus, that driver-centric engagement is a focus. So the question was what? Is there a focus on the Joy, right?
Do you think they're going to deliver analog joy?
Yeah,
in
no
the
doubt.
digital world?
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And that's the draw, I think, right? That's the draw of the brand, is that analog experience that you get with the engine. And I'm really curious to see, like, jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm curious to see where the next steps go with these new EU regulations, and will this naturally aspirated 9,000 RPM motor be able to keep going forward? Andy Pruniger has his doubts.
Yeah.
We will certainly, time will tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's ask a question that's hot among car enthusiasts and the car industry as a
Take
whole.
notes, but
And that question is, can Porsche surpass Ferrari in its prestige, if it hasn't already?
can Porsche surpass Ferrari in its prestige? Okay. If you're an enthusiast, like as an enthusiast, we're just into cars, we're just into cars. And realistically, like my clients that have Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, they want it all.
Yeah.
Will there be times that maybe the prestige bubble of one grows a little bit larger than the other? Sure. But I think it's cyclical. I think Ferrari's done a great job.
I think the reason why people ask that, though,
Yeah.
is obviously the last manual they made was the 2012 Ferrari California manual.
Yeah.
And there's rumors that they might be bringing it back, but it won't be in their standard production cars. It will be like ultra million high-end production cars.
You said a manual?
Yes, correct. But Porsche is still carrying on that legacy of the manual in their cars. So,
but a manual isn't the only thing, right?
Correct.
Like a manual isn't the only delineator of like the prestige or enthusiast or whatever, right? Like a manual is part of it, but it's not the only part of it.
It's also design as well. I think there's a lot of questions in there with Ferrari is what they've done with their design language lately.
Yeah.
But it seems as though Porsche has really picked up speed, especially in the GT world. I think that's why a lot of
but it's
enthusiasts and people ask those questions.
But they're also more attainable, like, right? Like, I mean, not arguably more. That's right.
Right. When you talk 911 ST and all those.
There's still a lot of big numbers. But realistically, like, you can save, so what is it? Like a 991.1 GT3 with like 50,000 miles, you can get into one for like 130s, 140s, somewhere on there, right? 150 maybe max CPO, right? But like, okay, we know that's not attainable to the masses, but like most modern Ferraris, like let's talk about 2015 Ferrari, like I don't know what the prices are, but I think
you could touch an older 458 for under twos now.
Yeah, but then your maintenance, that's the other part of it,
right.
the finicky
Porsche's
nature of it, so Porsche's reliability. So there's a lot of reason why, like, I can't say the everyman, but there's a reason why the aspirations are so much easier for most with Porsche than they are with Ferrari. Now that might be changing, right? Because like our prices are really starting to creep up. Like I just built for one of our good clients that you and I both know well, I just built a GT3 touring for him at an MSRP of 300 freaking grand. Like that's a lot of money, man.
Wow.
And like, you're starting to creep up, right? But the prestige, maybe, but like I was phrasing it earlier, those are bubbles. And I think those bubbles just kind of grow and pace, and one's a little bigger than the other now, and then later the other one will be bigger. And I think maybe Porsche, we've been on a really hot kick for a little while, just because we this whole idea of like buy it, drive it to the track, beat the out of it, and then drive it home is one of the big lures of the brand. Lower maintenance costs, relatively speaking, to Ferrari, right? The manual transmission, obviously, as you highlighted, is a big deal.
Well, I think that's why people ask, is the GT specific
Yeah.
a secret Ferrari killer? If you're comparing it to like an SP3, no. There's not.
Yeah, but like let's also get to the 296 GTB, which is a pretty freaking badass car, man.
Yeah.
Like that is a sick car. What is it? 800 horsepower just to the rear wheels, and like it is a beast of a car, mid-engine. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get that, and I support that. But then again, like, I mean, if I put away a little bit of money, I could get the Porsche that I want, but it would take a lot more for me to get the Ferrari that I want. You know, like more than putting away a little bit of money, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. Does that break it down a little bit, or?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think that answers some of people's questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cool. I think that's enough for this episode.
Yeah.
So next episode, maybe we'll be talking about.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
Let's throw a couple of them out there. Maybe we'll get something in the comments, right? But like I like the idea of the brand versus the dealer, especially in America. I like that. Like, where does that go? If anybody wanted to see anything about that, or I don't know what other ideas you have.
Battle the specs, like
Yeah.
what?
Battle the specs. That's a great one.
You know?
Yeah. So if anybody has any good suggestions or not good suggestions, just try to drop them in the comments.
Let's build something crazy.
Yeah. Like we're open. We're just starting this up, so let's see where we go.
That's right.
Yeah. Cool.
Driven by passion, driven by performance, driven by Porsche Denver West.
Thanks, George.
Thanks.